Hello, how are you? I hope you're doing fine today. I'm doing fine today. I'm here to talk more about the criminal case that's going on. New York City Department of Correction Captain Rebecca Hillman is on trial as we speak for criminally negligent homicide in the death of Ryan Wilson, an inmate who committed suicide. As of now, I don't know anything about the verdict. Maybe by the time this video comes out, maybe we will have a verdict. As I said, she was charged with criminally negligent homicide, so I'm going to give you a definition of what criminally negligent homicide is in New York. It occurs when a person causing the death of a human being in a way that was careless, reckless, or inattentive. This means an individual accused of a crime didn't mean to kill the alleged victim. However, their actions were so bad that a person died. A person can be accused of criminally negligent homicide if they fail to act. Their failure to act, such as the failure to provide care for someone, results in death of that person. As I said in my last video, I read the indictment, which said that Ryan Wilson got on a chair in his cell, tied a noose around his neck, tied it to the light fixture, and proceeded to hang himself. Captain Hillman thought he was kidding, thought he was playing, and she didn't respond appropriately or in time. Reports have it that it took 15 minutes for her to give the order to open the cell to cut him down. Initially, she lied on her report, allegedly lied on her report, saying that she did respond immediately, but the DA is saying that they have video, and also two officers that were present testified that she did not respond immediately. I'm going to read what her lawyers are saying. I guess her lawyers have conceded the point that she did not respond immediately, and they have said that Hillman's defense attorney, Todd Spodek, blamed the incident on rampant dysfunction in the Department of Correction and a culture that forces officers to navigate that dysfunction without proper training, staffing, and facilities. He said the captain thought that Wilson was being manipulative when he threatened to kill himself. The attorney also said Hillman didn't intervene immediately because she thought Wilson was kidding. So they're admitting that she didn't respond immediately, or she didn't intervene immediately. And being that she did falsify her initial report, that's an additional charge also. And that's an E felony as well as the criminally negligent homicide, and that carries a sentence of 4 years. So she has two of those charges. Now, it's going to be kind of difficult for her to escape responsibility for this. If she gets a very sympathetic jury, or maybe one sympathetic juror, the tide may swing in her favor, but I think that's a long shot. In this day and time where we have a lot of attention on law enforcement, and a lot of people are calling for defunding of law enforcement, and everyone seems to be critical of law enforcement right now, it's very difficult to get a sympathetic jury to side in this situation in favor of Captain Hillman. It's also going to be difficult primarily because she lied in her initial report, and because the family of the deceased, of course, they're going to be at court every day, and they're going to be staring at the jury, and they're going to want something done. They want to have somebody held responsible for the death of their loved one.
I miss his personality and how he was with the family, very jokingly. He was very talented.
She delayed 15 minutes of opening the cell of Ryan Wilson. That 15 minutes could have saved his life. He would have been here today if that cell was open.
This is not the first time this has happened, and this has happened a lot of times, too many times. Inmates have hung themselves or injured themselves, and officers are held responsible for what happens because they are considered to be negligent in their duties. Now, when I first started covering correction news, I covered a case in 2014 of a New York City correction captain named Terrence Pendergrass, who also was charged with not responding to an incident. The inmate did not hang himself. His name was Jason Extravaria. He ate a packet of detergent and got violently sick. The officers that observed him noticed that, and they contacted Captain Pendergrass. He didn't respond, and he was charged. He went to court in 2014, and he was found guilty and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Now, I understand that he maintains his innocence, but he had 2 officers testify against him as well as a pharmacist, and they all say that the captain was notified that the inmate was in distress, and Captain Pendergrass did not respond. Now, how do these things happen? These things happen to smart people, you would think. People that would know better. But it continues to happen, and I've seen a lot of this stuff happen. I've read about a lot of these things happening, and I just wanted to address some of the reasons why these things happen. Okay? Now, I got to let you know up front what I'm going to get into. I got to give you a warning.
Now, this is going to hurt a little bit. Huh? I say this is going to hurt a little bit.
Yes, it's going to hurt a little bit, okay? But I'm going to keep it real with you. Now, I'm drawing from my experience, a little background on myself. I was a New York City correction officer. I'm retired now, but I came on the job in 1987. I was assigned to Rikers Island. I've worked with all classifications of inmates. I've worked in borough facilities. I've worked in admin. I've worked in personnel. I've worked in the warden's office. I worked on 2 state of command reports in 2 different facilities, and I was a union delegate. So I'm just going to give you my point of view on how these things happen and how to prevent them. And this type of incident primarily happens to 2 types of people. The first type of person that this happens to is the lazy person, the lazy officer who, or captain or supervisor, who doesn't want to take the job seriously, who is not really dedicated to the job, and they just want to go through the motions and get through the day and do it as least as possible. We all know those type of people. We've all worked with those type of people. But there's a second type of person that I observe that gets involved in these types of incidents as well. And the second type of person is a person that is eager to please. When I say eager to please, I don't mean eager to please the inmates, but eager to please the supervisors or the administration. And sometimes this leads to issues, and people get caught up in things that they should be smart enough not to get caught up in. All right. I don't think that Captain Hillman was a lazy person. I think that she probably was the second type of person who just wants to do a good job and is eager to please. Now, what happens in a facility is that there's pressure. There's pressure in the facility coming from the top down, and the pressure is on the supervisors as well as the officers. And the pressure comes from the way the ranking system is structured. Now in New York, which I'm familiar with, you have to take a test to become a captain and the next level, assistant deputy warden. After that, if you want to become a deputy warden or a chief or assistant chief or whatever, you have to be appointed, selected. And the way that they select the person who is going to be promoted is that they look at their job performance, and they really look at how they handle their responsibility. And what it really comes down to in a lot of cases, it's about the money. Okay? I'm just going to keep it real. It's about the dollars. If you can manage your budget in a way that saves money, you stand out. You've shown them something. You've shown them that you know how to handle your situation in an effective way. So the push is to, and especially in these times when budgets are being squeezed and they are being defunded in some places, in a lot of areas, the budget is very important. So you have administrators in your facility, you have deputy wardens, assistant deputy wardens, you have a warden. They all are trying to move up. In a lot of cases, they want to be promoted. And they're in competition with each other within your facility, and they're in competition with other deputy wardens in other facilities and wardens in other facilities. The warden wants to be an assistant chief, or he wants to move to a bigger jail and more responsibility. They all are trying to do that, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I don't want to just say that everybody's just about the money, because there's a lot of people that give their lives to this profession, and they really honestly care about doing a good job and about taking care of the inmates. But sometimes the pressure to save money and to not have negative scrutiny come on the jail or the institution or the individuals that are the administrators is intense. Now, I'm going to tell you what I think happened in this situation with Captain Hillman and Ryan Wilson, and I'm going to tie it into the whole budget conversation. Now, from the accounts that I've read, Ryan Wilson requested that Captain Hillman respond to the area. I think he had gotten into a fight, and he told the officers, call Captain Hillman. They called her. She wanted to transfer him to a different area, and he said, no, you can't transfer me. If you try to transfer me, then I'm going to hang up. And that's when he did his, thing where he had the sheet and he tied it around his neck. Now, what I think happened in this situation is that this is not the first time that Captain Hillman and Ryan Wilson have interacted with each other. I think that maybe he has pulled this on her more than once. I think that he probably is known to do manipulative gestures, and maybe she has responded in the appropriate way as per the directive. When an inmate does a manipulative gesture, you're supposed to call a control room. You're supposed to have officers respond. You're supposed to take the inmate to the clinic. And if he's assessed at the clinic and they consider him a risk, they will send him to the hospital to be evaluated. Now, what I just described costs money. It costs money for officers to respond. You pull them from their regular duties and you have them respond to a suicide attempt. It costs money to send an inmate to the hospital. You have to have officers that accompany that inmate to the hospital. So if you do this more than once, 2 or 3 times, it's going to cause the administrators to want to find out what's going on. Okay, especially if it's the same captain that this is happening to, or the same captain that's causing this to go into effect, this response. So, because it's costing money and it's bringing negative attention to the command and it's hurting their chances to be promoted. So, they're not going to tell her the money aspect of what she's doing, but they're going to tell her, they're going to sit her down, have her on the carpet and tell her, listen, you're going to have to do something about this. It's been 2, 3 times that you've been covering this area, and we've had to respond in this way, and you're going to have to fix this. Now, she, like I said, may be the person that's eager to please. Maybe she wants a steady, maybe she wants something, or maybe she has something that she wants to hold on to. Maybe she has a steady, or maybe she wants a transfer. But either way, what she is doing is trying to please the command or please the administrators, okay? So the next time she's called, which is this time, she decides, hey, you know what? I'm not going for this BS anymore. He calls me down there, and then he threatens suicide, and I call out the brigade. I do everything the directive says, and it brings problems to me. So I'm going to do something different. An intelligent person, this is how they think. I'm going to fix this. So she calls his bluff. Now, sometimes when an inmate is acting out and you call his bluff and you let them know, I'm not playing this game anymore, sometimes they straighten up. Sometimes they realize and say, you know what? All right, the jig is up. I can't do this. It's not working anymore. And that may work. It may work 1,000 times. But the one time it doesn't work and you've already deviated from the rules, you're going to be hung out to dry. One person made a comment on one of my videos and they said, 1,000 attaboys can be wiped out by one oh shit. So you may be getting pats on the back for making things work, but the one time it doesn't work, it's a problem. If an inmate commits suicide, it's a problem. And you know what? You're out there all by yourself if you've deviated from the rules. In this case, I'm sure she knew what the protocol is, but she decided to roll the dice and call the inmate's bluff, probably because of the pressure that she was under from the administration. And now she has to pay the price. Now, nobody in the administration is going to stand up and say, you know, excuse me, but the reason why she did what she did is because we put pressure on her and told her not to continue to do what she was already doing, which was in the directive. They're not going to say that. They're just going to sit back and let her hang or let her deal with it on her own. They're going to turn their back on her.
Now I got to turn my back on you.
All right. So what do you do in a situation like this? If you're a person that's eager to please and you want to do a good job and what you're doing doesn't seem to be working. When you sit down with your supervisor, this is what you say.
How, Sway? Take a few steps back to go.
You ain't got the answers, man. You ain't got the answers.
Yes, you want to ask the question, how? How am I going to get these inmates to act right? I know what you want. How am I going to do that? How, Sway? How? You may not want to go out like Kanye, but you might want to be a bit more respectful and say, how? Can you please show me exactly what you want me to do? And a good supervisor will be able to walk you through everything that you need to know step by step to help you be able to do what it is that they're asking you to do. Now, I've been working since I was 14 years old, and one thing I've learned, you do not want to be the person that doesn't know how to do something, but the supervisor thinks that you know. It's better to let them know that, hey, I don't know how to do it the way you want me to do it. I need for you to show me. And a good supervisor will be able to show you. Now, in correction, like I said, there's a lot of pressure, and believe it or not, if y'all wasn't cutting corners, it wouldn't run. The system wouldn't run, as far as I'm concerned. The system would not run correctly if people weren't cutting corners, okay? I'm just being real about it. But sometimes people advise people to do things that are not correct, okay? So if you're asking a supervisor for help, which I advise everyone to do that's having issues, let your supervisor know and ask them for help. Give them the opportunity to try to help you, okay? But if they start coloring outside of the lines, if they want you to do things that are not in the directives, that is not permitted, just for expediency, just to make their day easier, a red light should go on in your head, and you should be very cautious in stepping out on the word of someone without having something in writing. So if someone starts to tell you how to do your job and it's a method that is not in the directives. This is very important, that when you do have a post or a position or a job, make sure you know the directive. Then ask your questions on how to implement the directive. But if they start coloring outside of the lines, then the next thing you should do, before you tell them, I can't do that, tell them to put it in writing. Tell them to put it in writing. If they want you to do something that is not in the directives, tell them to put it in writing. That way you have cover. That way if something goes wrong, you have that in your back pocket and say, hey, the dep said do this, the warden said do that, okay? If you don't have that, then they know, or if they won't give you that, then they know what they're telling you is not right and exact. So therefore you should not do it. So you got to protect yourself and do the right thing. Now, I know sometimes intelligent people get caught up in this because intelligent people are very creative. They come up with different ideas, things that are not official or in the directives. They come up with different ways to do things. And a lot of times the things that they come up with work. And sometimes the things that they create are better than what's in the directive. And when I was a delegate, a union delegate, I had the most problems with very intelligent and creative supervisors and officers, because they come up with ideas and it makes perfect sense, but the department has not caught up to the way that you think yet, and they're going on what's in the directive, and that's what we have to go on, and that's all you have. That's your protection. And don't deviate from that too far, because when you do, you step out and then something happens, you're in a lot of trouble. Basically what I'm saying in a nutshell is this.
This is the mayor talking.
All right.
Doctor?
Come on, what?
Always do the right thing.
That's it?
That's it.
I got it. I'm gone.
Do the right thing. If you like the video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And until next time, as always, peace and stay safe.
Be sure to check out our sponsor, jailkeychains.com, for the best items created to honor correctional officers, because COs are heroes.